What's up guys, today I want to go over the drone skill that we have here in the Division 2. This one actually has 5 variants and each one is very different. They all do their respective jobs fairly well. Now I am going over all the other skills that we have here in the Division, so be sure to check those out and subscribe if that's interesting to you. First off, we have the Striker. This is your basic little assault drone that goes after the enemies that you target or shoots some close enemies if you call it back to you. Base stats are a cooldown of 151 seconds, duration of 120 seconds, 350 health, and damage is entirely based off your skill power. I was a little skeptical about this guy because of how low the health is and the generally basic effect in that it just shoots enemies, but in reality, it's not too bad because it distracts enemies that might otherwise be a problem for you like shotgun rushers, or can even potentially keep a turret from popping up in the back of the battlefield. It doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, so don't count on this thing to wipe out a ton of enemies for you unless you have some seriously high skill power and damage boosting stats. It's more like an annoying little fly that you throw out there to keep some of the heat off of you. All in all, not a bad choice if you like this thing. I personally am not a huge fan as I don't like to have to manage it while in combat, but that's just kind of my personal opinion and by no means should deter you from using this. Next up, we have the Defender drone. This one is supposed to block incoming bullets and essentially give you a period of invulnerability where the drone is absorbing the fire. It has a cooldown of 76 seconds, 20-second duration, and about 35,000 health. So full disclosure here, I don't care for this one at all, it just doesn't do its job well enough. It does deflect some bullets, and in a couple of situations, it did keep me from dying, so I can't say that it's completely useless, and maybe if you spec your character around giving this guy some more health, it might not be too bad, but honestly, it's the duration that I found to be an issue. It's just so short that I find myself either not being able to utilize it fully, or just getting it completely shredded by enemies, so it just doesn't perform. Maybe some of you guys have better luck with this one, but that's my personal opinion. Moving on, we have the Bombardier, if that's how you say it. This one makes you set 2 locations and drop little bombs in these spots, kind of like a little carpet bomber. Its cooldown is 101 seconds, its health is 10,000, 151 explosive damage with 4 bombs with a radius of 3 meters each. This guy is a little funky, and at first it was difficult for me to line up a good spot for it to be used in. I find the interactive bomb setting to be a little, clunky. I guess maybe that's just me, but I think my biggest problem, and from other people I've talked to, this is fairly common, it is predicting the enemy AI enough to make this effective during combat, unless they're in cover, and the reason that this is an issue is because of how slowly the drone goes. It's not like a turtle, but the delay between setting and detonating the explosives is enough to make you miss the kills. Which is why, as I was trying to showcase this, I generally just used 1 or 2 enemies that were in cover and just showed how it worked. In the end, I started using this guy to start my engagements, and when the enemies were huddled up, just to chip down their health, and by the time I got it back, it was generally ready for me to start another engagement under the same circumstances. So not bad, but not the best. The 4th skill is the Tactician drone. This one is specifically to the sharpshooter specialization and basically does the same thing as the pulse skill. So it highlights the enemy targets and applies the pulsed status effect on them. Now when I started using this, I was wondering why I would use this over the pulse and came up with a couple of reasons. One, it allows you to use other variants of the pulse skill like the jammer while still being able to identify the enemies. It's also got a much greater range than the pulse skill does, so that's good. And it will continually scan the area as long as it's active, and since the duration is 150 seconds, that's pretty good. So all in all, a good replacement for the pulse if you prefer this one, or if you want to use a different pulse variant. Does this job well, what can I say? Last but not least, we have the Fixer drone. This is my little buddy. It really does save my life, and all the healer skills really do in this game. It can either be used to heal you or your allies depending on what you choose, and generally I have time enough to heal myself and them due to its duration of 180 seconds. This skill is great for someone that likes to be a medic type person and can manage the battlefield very well. It can definitely make encounters a lot less difficult if you have a good healer on your team. I can't really fault it in any way because it does its job pretty well, and in my opinion all the healing skills do great at what they're supposed to do. If you prefer to use this one, I would say that you're probably making a pretty good decision. All in all, the drone is a versatile skill tree and a lot of different functions to it. Definitely the Fixer is the one that does this job the best in my opinion, and the Defender one is the one that I really wouldn't recommend that you guys use unless you have a build built for it. That's all I have for you guys today. Leave me a comment underneath this video about which one you like the best and how you are liking the drone. Like this video, it really does help me out a lot. Subscribe to the channel for future Division content. And with that guys, I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.